Hey, what's good, Star Wars fans? This is the Confire Crew, and today we're going to be bringing you our Rogue One spoiler breakdown. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, spoilers. We're talking everything about this movie, so if you haven't seen it, you're going to have to come back and watch it later. We've got two guests on with, I guess you could call them both guests. Britain, which you got to be familiar with if you're with this channel whatsoever. And then Stupendous Wave, you're making his second return. The first time we hooked up with Stupendous was last year for The Force Awakens. So why not bring back the Star Wars guru for Rogue One? If you've never watched one of these videos, this is not a normal review. There's thousands of reviews out there. What we do is we approach it a little bit differently. And we've got certain questions that I wouldn't necessarily call controversial, but I think they're good talking points. And there are three, we're going to talk about them. And man, have some fun geeking out about Star Wars. So I guess y'all can introduce yourself. Britton, if you want, go ahead and introduce yourself real quick.
All right, Britton, YouTube channel, The Nerdy Geek. Just another fanboy spewing nonsense on the internet.
Yep, Britton does a lot of movie reviews. We on our channel we'll do some movie reviews, but we're kind of Game of Thrones, TV. We're all over the place. Star Wars is obviously one of the things that we're going to talk about. If you like movies and nerd type stuff, that's a must. And then Stupendous.
Yeah, I just try to be the epicenter of everything Star Wars, news to explanations to occasionally reviews. So yeah, that's what I try to be.
Yeah. Hey, anybody who watches anything Star Wars on YouTube, they've probably run across your channel sometime.
Yeah.
Or another. Oh, I got a quick question. I didn't get to watch this. I'm sorry, this is off topic. We'll make this real quick. Were you were featured on Jedi Council?
Yeah.
Ooh, that was awesome. You need to tell me which episode it was so I can go back and watch that one, because Brenton was telling me about it and I haven't an opportunity to check that out yet, but I think that's fantastic. But let's go ahead, man. Let's jump into this. We got 3 questions. We got 4 questions. Let's start out with real easy, simple. We're not going to spend a lot of time discussing this one, but I'm curious what you guys think. Britton, I'll start out with you on this one. K2SO, BB-8, C-3PO, R2-D2. If you could take one, which one would you take?
Take them as in
they're yours.
They're
mine. What's your favorite?
I love K2SO in this movie, but I still got to go R2.
Okay, R2. Stupendous. Who would you take?
K2 for sure. No question. K2 is the most efficient. It seems like it. Not only when is R2-D2 going to be able to punch something for you? Never.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like K2, he can hook up to all the things that R2 needs to hook up to. He is an Imperial Enforcer droid, so you could pretty much walk around anywhere that's populated by Imperials and be just fine. Just act like a prisoner. He's funny, and he's always going to have your back. And yeah, K2. The punching thing mostly.
After watching this, it made me think, because I was like, man, I like K2 quite a bit. And you know, BB-8 gave R2 a little run for his money, and he was a cute little thing. I don't really know what he can do other than give a lighter thumb up. But man, K2, man, did you see how he was gunning? He was gunning those jokers down. If he was catching grenades out of the air, I was like, man, I don't know, man. K2, I feel like me and him could be boys. I think I would take K2 as well. I feel like we could have some good conversations. There's no way C-3PO, I would kill him. I would melt him down and I would use his parts for something else. There's no way I'm rolling with C-3PO anywhere. Anyway, I just thought that would be funny because they always have very memorable droids in every one of these movies. And so I know you got fan favorites of each one. And so I was just curious what your thoughts were on that one. But let's get into the meat of this video real quick, and let's talk about our first question. Let's just get this one out of the way right now, and this will allow us to talk about our general thoughts about the movie. Is Rogue One in your top 3 Star Wars film? Stupendous, I'll let you open up with this one. Is this in your top 3?
Yes, I would say it is. It's the bottom third one. Now, this is subject to change over time because I will have to see the film a few more times. I've only seen it once, I plan on seeing it at least 2 more times. But so far, I was very, very satisfied with my first viewing. It was fun in the right places, but the right amount of dour for the time period, I thought just really fit perfectly. Empire Strikes Back is pretty much like it's safe to call that thing a masterpiece. I think that's the only Star Wars film that is a masterpiece. There's not really anything I can pick out of it that's wrong. But Rogue One for sure. I do like Return of the Jedi a lot. I know the Ewoks are something that really, really make a lot of people mad. But I just think the first act of that film is just so perfect, and then the third act is just so perfect, and it really makes the second completely forgivable, at least in my mind. But Rogue One, it fits right there in that third spot as of right now. I do still love A New Hope, and they're definitely neck and neck, but I would have to say Rogue One. There's nothing in A New Hope like that Darth Vader scene. Nothing close to it.
No, they made Rogue One makes A New Hope even better. I haven't got to go back and watch A New Hope. I know, Brenton, you said you watched it and the tone was so off that like you had to readjust. I'm assuming that it makes A New Hope better. I got chills in this movie in a couple spots thinking about A New Hope. I got chills when Jen Erso was giving her monologue speech talking about, you know, what choice do we have or whatever. It's like, what decision? I can't remember the quote. What was it? Anyway, it's when she was talking to Mon Mothma in the group. I got chills because I was thinking about Luke. I was like, man, you don't even know, man. Luke is coming to handle business, and he's going to bring the real hope for y'all. I got chills thinking about that. I got chills when the Star Fleet popped up there at the very end to help out. All of them made me think about A New Hope. It just, the nostalgia feeling. So I would have to put Rogue One. I'd have to put Rogue One in my top. It'd have to be in my top 3. I'm kind of like you, Stupendous, on that one as far as it's not going to be better than Empire. I'm imagining watching Empire for the first time, kind of at the age we are now in that year, like the shock you would have got from the reveal and everything that took place, and Luke gets his hand cut off, and then everybody's kind of dispersed, and Han Solo's frozen and taken. You would have been completely mind blown. So there's just so much to go on with that movie. I don't think it would beat that, but definitely in my top 3 as well. Britton, do you put it in your top 3 all-time Star Wars movies? I mean, think about Episode 3 and how good that one was.
Man, I think it's still right outside it. It might be a better made movie than Return of the Jedi, but Return of the Jedi is still my favorite Star Wars movie. It's not the best made. I don't think it's the best made, but
right.
Just when I watched it and how many times I watched it when I was a kid, Return of the Jedi is still my favorite. And then Empire, man, I still love A New Hope. It's the one that started it all. So I think it would fall just right outside it. But
all right, hey,
it's right outside of it, I think. But it's neck and neck. It's close, and you almost can consider it the way it tied in. You know, you could just cut out the crawl from Episode 4, and mash it all together, and it's just one big movie.
And you got one, yeah. It's a tough call, and that's why I wanted to ask you, because I know there's a lot of people. I've even heard some people saying this is better than Empire Strikes Back, and a lot of people got it at their number 2 and things like that. So I was curious, and I'm hoping down in the comment section people are just like, no way, it's not better than this or that. Because it was good, and I'm still not sure if I'm just fanboying, and when I come back to revisit it a year from now, if I'm still going to have the same thoughts, because I'm still hyped up. Like, the Vader hyped me up so much.
That scene is incredible.
I can't get over it. And we're going to talk about that. And this is question number 2. And I got my answer for this one. I'll leave this one off because, Britton, I'm saving the third one for you. Question number 2. Does Rogue One contain the best scene of all times within the Star Wars cinematic universe? And that is, of course, well, for me, the Darth Vader scene. That's what I'm talking about. There may be something in this movie that you liked better, but I highly doubt it. I have to say that this might be my most favorite scene out of all the Star Wars movies ever. I've never felt the same type of excitement I have when I saw this, because this is the one thing I wanted out of this movie. I've been telling friends for months. I was like, dude, the only thing that I really need, that I desperately want, is I want Vader getting buck. I want him smashing people, and I was like, I want him killing. It's okay. He can kill him. He can cut him up. I want him going in, much like the Wolverine scene in the latest movie. Like, he didn't talk, but there was a small scene and you got him. I wanted that. And that's because I read the Vader Down comic book series, and he was phenomenal in that series. Like, Vader was no joke. Like, he was killing people. He was talking smack. He was just taking out tanks. And since I got to see that version of Vader in the comic books, I wanted that to translate over to the movie. Before the movie ended, I was kind of disappointed. I was like, man, I didn't get to see what I wanted, but I didn't think there was any way for them to naturally fit it into the movie. And I just didn't think much about it. And then at the end, bro, when those lights were off and they turned around, I thought, for a second, I didn't get my hopes up. I thought they was going to stop the film. Like, I thought that was going to be it. I was like, if they end this motherfucking movie right here, I will scream. It will ruin everything. And then it didn't. The saber come out, and then he goes ham. And I loved every second of it. So for me, this is the best scene in the Star Wars cinematic movie universe. Britton, what do you think? Do you think this contains the best out of all of them?
It's one of the best. Now, I think for me, my favorite scene, and I think it is, and I don't think it quite tops it just because of where it is the ending scene in Return of the Jedi where Luke stands up to Palpatine and says, I'm a Jedi like my father before me. Mm-hmm. To me, that I can still watch that scene, and I even now just get chills thinking about how he just stand, now he knows he's going to get ruined. He's probably he fully expects to die in that scene, but he's like, no, you're not. You kill me. I'm not turning. I'm not turning. You're not. You tried your best. No, I am who I am.
Well, look.
So I think that's still, impactful. That scene at the end of this movie is just incredible. And Vader Down, that got me wanting to see it. But also Lords of the Sith is you see him in that book, or read about, don't see him, but you read about him
right
doing incredible things in that book too, along with the Emperor. And so that I wanted to see that as well. And man, that when walking down the hallway and just
I get chills thinking about that scene. Stupendous. You know a little bit about Star Wars. I know you're familiar with a lot of the canon. Man, is this your favorite scene?
I would say it's my favorite scene, but I don't think it's the best scene. Right. If that makes sense.
No, it definitely does.
Like Britton was saying, the scene in Return of the Jedi with Luke, and after he defeats Darth Vader and throws his lightsaber, that's fantastic. I think the whole Bespin duel, like that whole duel as a whole, is just superior to it. But I do prefer this as like a one little scene if I have to pin down a little moment. But the whole Bespin duel, I know that's kind of cheating, but
no, it's not. I consider that a scene. I would have still counted Vader's scene if he would have went through the rest of this ship and killed people for the next 15 minutes.
But the Bespin duel, it has the greatest movie twist and reveal of all time. It's well lit. It's not as poorly choreographed as people seem to recall it being. It's really not. I didn't think so. It's quite good, actually. I think it holds up to a lot of the prequels, honestly, or a lot of the stuff. Like, obviously, they're not jumping and flipping, but that's still, well, Luke does a fair bit, actually. But it's there, and it fits perfectly into how the story's moving. Like, Vader's obviously just messing around with this kid, and Luke, he's just trying his best. But
with this kid, his kid. It's like, oh, come here, Sonny. This is playtime. Come to Daddy. What you gonna do to me?
Yeah, exactly. But this scene, it delivered something that we've all read about, that we've all looked at in comic books, and we actually got to see it for the first time on screen, and that was just, it was magical in the most horrific way possible.
Yes. I was flat. Look, I just went to the theater that I went to had just been renovated. My theater's slow on the uptake, but we just got the recline back seats, and they revamped the IMAX and everything like that. And so I'm in there laid back, and this is remote control, so I'm laid back, and this scene comes up, and when really exciting moments in movies happen, I like to sit up, with my hands on my elbows, or my hands on my elbows. That didn't make no kind of sense. My elbows on my knees and sit forward. I couldn't get forward fast enough because I was like hitting that little electric button to like move my seat forward real. So I was like, oh my goodness. Like Vader says, he is killing these dudes. He cut one dude's head off. I think he cut one dude on the ceiling. Like he just pulled, like he was like, give me all your weapons. I was like, dude, man, Vader, God. Yeah. They were scared. That dude turned around. He said, help us. Like he was screaming. This is the one movie that literally made me fear Vader. For some reason, even in Empire Strikes Back, I still didn't have that awe that a lot of people had about, oh, he's so intimidating, he's so scary. Super awesome villain, love him, I'm not saying that. But for some reason, this movie captured how menacing he really was for me. Like I said, it didn't happen for the other ones, but in this movie it did, and I was like, man, you know what? He is intimidating. I wouldn't want to go to his castle. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to watch him coming through some steam walking to me like that. I'm nervous right now. Even the other scene with Vader I thought was fantastic. With him kind of talking smack to Krennic. I was in awe for that whole scene. All Vader I was in awe with.
Yeah. I went to the film with a girl who this was her first Star Wars movie, and she was mortified, which just made the experience way better. She was horrified.
Awesome. Yes.
It was a horror. I mean, that in Little Spivet was more like a horror film than any Star Wars fan or Star Wars film has ever been. So definitely, I can see that.
Okay, I'm curious. I'm glad that you took a girl to the theater who is not. She's not familiar with any of the Star Wars. She hasn't watched any of the Star Wars movies.
No, 15 minutes into the movie, when Jyn woke up in Imperial captivity, she leaned over and was like, "Is that Princess Leia?"
Okay.
So no.
First of all, did she have a hard time following the storyline?
Yeah, she did.
She did have a hard time following it. Dang. And see, in my review, I thought that a new fan would at least be able to pick up on it.
No, I kind of blew that one out. Revenge of the Sith and the first Star Wars to fully understand this film.
Okay, because see, I read the book, Catalyst moving into it, and so like I was super familiar with everything going on. I wasn't sure how a new fan would take to and pick up on it. How did she like the film?
She liked it. She was just like, she didn't know what the dark side was. So it's someone who
that makes sense. Yeah,
I was shocked too, but
it makes sense.
Yeah, so you kind of have to, because when you go in, she doesn't understand who Vader is. She doesn't understand the importance of Vader. She doesn't understand, because the hierarchy of the Empire, it's not really explained, and without prior knowledge, okay, Vader's here, Tarkin's here, Krennic's here, this is why everyone wants to talk to the Emperor, this is the Death Star. Like, she knew the Death Star, but really all that stuff, and she was like, because can you imagine going into that movie for the first time, not knowing that Darth Vader is horribly crippled? Like, you'd be completely lost.
Yeah.
Like,
what's he doing in this tank? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so I would say you for sure need to at least have seen the first Star Wars movie and Revenge of the Sith, preferably. But yeah, I would say you need those two films.
I was curious if people should start, because I mean, this is part 1 to A New Hope. So I was like, yo, can people watch this, get excited, and then by the end, like, oh my goodness, there's a continuation. I need to go watch A New Hope now, and like get them into Star Wars where they never would have been before. Yeah. I guess since I understood everything, I wasn't sure how people would take on it. So she had to have been really mortified at the end. Like, oh my goodness, what is this? What is this sword? This lightsaber what is he doing to these people?
Yeah,
people blocking bullets. That's got to be an awesome feeling, though, from her perspective. To like, that's your introduction. That's your introduction to the dark side.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that scene?
With the first Star Wars, it's like you kind of understand where everything is coming from with Vader. You see him leading stormtroopers. You see him speaking with Tarkin, but in this movie, you don't see him with any other Imperial member besides Krennic in the entire film. So, well, I take that back. I think at the very, very, very end you do, and right before he boards the ship you do. But other than that, he doesn't really directly interact with them besides just a few words.
Right.
So I think you really need that. I think that's a thing that they needed to understand. Even more so, if they had understood going in his position in the Empire, not that he was a Sith Lord, but just his position in the Empire, it would have been more...
Yeah, because you don't see the Empire. Yeah, I guess it makes sense because you're right. You take all the knowledge that we have for granted.
Mm-hmm.
And just automatically understand exactly the Rebel Force and the Empire and all that stuff that goes along with it. So is she hooked though? Is she now wanting to watch the other ones?
I'm not sure. I think that she enjoyed the movie a lot because it's a very enjoyable movie, and there's definitely, you can go in and understand 2/3 of the film, but you're missing that 1/3, which is for us the good 1/3.
Right.
Not that the rest is like bad, but like the 1/3 that's for us. And without that, it's a good movie. It's not like a movie that we've waited decades for at this point.
All right, I was just curious. I was fascinated to see that somebody watched something for the first time. So that's some interesting insight. I won't open up with that movie if I need to take somebody to get into Star Wars. All right, let's move on to our third question. Britton, this one is just for you. I'm really curious to see how this one, I want to talk about this. The weakness that Galen Erso put into the Death Star, agree or disagree? Should they have discovered this weakness on their own, or do you like the way that it played out? Did it fix the plot hole in A New Hope? Britton, you have any thoughts on this?
Well, considering I've done 2 videos now on how I think that that Episode 4 doesn't have a plot hole, and that it's not a weakness, and it's just a design flaw that, or not even really a design flaw. I would have preferred them not do that. I'm probably in a vast minority on this. I don't, everybody seems to think that, having the Death Star have a thermal exhaust port that caused a chain reaction is this big gaping hole in the story in Episode 4. I don't think that. I think it's a plot device used to highlight how exceptional Luke was in the Force to cause the Death Star to blow up. I get it for this movie and how, with Galen's character, especially reading Catalyst, how it affects, like, why he did it and why it makes sense in Rogue One. But I think for me, it opened up even more of a plot hole a little bit because the design flaw that he puts in is so poor. He would have to known that Luke, like there's a Jedi out there.
There's somebody there who could actually exploit the weakness. Right.
And he designed, there was hardly anybody in the galaxy that could do it. Now, one of my buddies came up with the idea, which I kind of like, is that, maybe the Force was guiding Galen because even the kyber crystals in Catalyst showed that, they were influencing him a little bit.
Yeah, and his wife too, who was very, very much in tune with the Force, and I'm sure some of that rubbed off on him while they was running on the Outer Rim. So
like maybe that the Force influenced him to put that certain kind of design flaw because it's Luke's ultimate destiny to blow up Death Star. So I could go with that. I think it's weak, but
that's the weakest Star Wars excuse in the entire book. The Force did it.
Yeah. What do you?
So I mean. I've never had an issue with the Death Star having a tailpipe from what I look at it. Now, they might have to clear that up because Galen never worked on their propulsion system. So I always thought that it was from
it's not like he went and designed anything else to do with his job was very simple. It was harness the power from the kyber crystals so that they could destroy planets.
Right.
Stupendous, do you think that A New Hope had a plot hole, and that's a plot hole in the in the original movie that they fixed it, or how do you think they should have handled that? Do you agree with their decision to make it a weakness on purpose?
Well, I'm not sure if I caught this or if I'm missing something, and I very well could be, but I don't think that in the plans, in fact, thinking back, I know it's not, but like it's never explicitly shown where exactly this weakness is, and I'm not sure the information from Jin reached the rebels in A New Hope, and I'm not exactly sure if the Empire couldn't find this weakness, how the rebels exactly found it. I mean, Jin, she could have relayed the information, and I might be not recalling that from Rogue One. Do you recall that at all? Do you recall her explaining that there was this thermal thing there?
I know. I mean, like I think, yeah. 'Cause
Galen,
I think Galen tells her that he's hidden it in the I don't know if he says thermal. I can't remember. He says he does go into something.
Yeah.
In the hologram in the message, and then she does relay it to everybody on the ship.
I knew it was something like there was a weakness that he designed, but I know she told them.
I'm trying to recall if she related to the rest of the rebellion, though. And I mean, it's not... my little thing is, it's just, if the Empire and the entire Death Star couldn't locate this flaw, in A New Hope, if you look at it, and it appears as if they found that flaw, like, right away. So my question is, like, how the Empire that probably has extensive diagnostics on this thing not see this
massive weakness,
this little weakness when the rebellion did in the blink of an eye.
Well, there's a couple things. One, maybe they did notice it, and it was just like, look at how well protected that thing was. I mean, like, it was super protected. On top of it, it's just like, okay, they got to do what? Nobody's making that. Like, nobody's coming in there. They even said it's like, that shot's impossible. It's
not a plot hole. It's just, they're just adding on it. Because going back in the New Hope scene, they're like, the whole thing where only one ship can make the trench run, or one ship at a time, and that it's just barely big enough for a bomb to go through, that you can't even blast it with the traditional lasers. It's not anything that really needed fixing. Anyone that complains about that is a complete idiot that needs to go rewatch the movie.
I never had a problem with it, but I was just curious how with Galen, it's almost like they addressed that specifically to, like, okay, people have a problem with it, so let's put something in here that explains why they know that it's there.
I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it being in Rogue One. I like the idea that he would build something like that or do something like that. But I mean, I was expecting him to like send them the plans. Like, that's how I thought the movie was going to go. I didn't think that they were going to have to go somewhere to actually get the plans, which seemed... I love the movie, but that little piece seemed to like go past really, really like quick, and they kind of brushed over it and like a thing. I don't know. Yeah, but it just kind of hopped real quick.
The only thing I would say to that was, or how I at least took it, was that like he got the hologram out saying that, you know, he did this, but the plans were like, they made, you know, during in the movie they made the same, like the plans were such a large file that the only way they could
get them out was that huge satellite.
Right. So, you know, it was too much of a big date. Like, maybe if he tried to send it, it would have gotten noticed and he would have been found out.
Well, I mean, they tried.
Which he sent it. Look, well, the thing is, he sent it with the pilot, so he had like a hard copy of the hologram. Yeah. Which was the same thing those guys had at the end, like when Vader was chopping everybody up. It was still like they got it all on a little card.
Yeah, it took them like a few seconds to convert that big old file over to like a smaller one. So
to an SD card. That's what it was.
It literally fits in R2-D2. So
right.
True.
Yeah,
True.
That was, they could have done that. Look, for the movie, they needed to do it that way because they got one mission: get the Death Star plans. How quick would this movie have been if they had handed it to him right then? Britt, you had said something in your video that I would have been okay with this, where it's like he didn't design the flaw, but Galen discovered the flaw.
Yeah.
You know, where he was just like, look, I discovered a flaw in the Death Star. You've got to get the plans. Here with the plans. You got to go get them. And, you know, that would have been, it's like, look, it ain't much, guys, but that's your only hope.
Yeah, and also, like, with Return of the Jedi, it's like, what's that movie's excuse? They literally fly right into it. And now, was there another Galen or so that designed that? I know it was half complete, but
that was my always, like, you know, they probably would have fixed it in that one. It was half complete, you know, it was undone, or it wasn't complete yet.
But at the same time, if I'm the Emperor, I'm not chilling on a Death Star that's that incomplete where one ship can just fly in there and destroy it.
Right.
Or taking that thing into battle. And knowing the Emperor, like, that's not ever something that he would do, or Darth Vader. So, like, especially after witnessing the first one, if a tiny little bomb can undo the first one, I'm not stepping anywhere near on a battle station where the Millennium Falcon can fly through that.
Right, and get in and handle it. And then you had the same thing in the Force Awakens. They flew into that one and jacked that one up and flew out. Can we go for another one in Episode 8?
Nope.
No more.
Done with that. Were there any other scenes in this movie that stood out to you? We talked about the big ones. I had a buddy at work really talk about the Hammerhead Corvette where they pushed the Star Destroyer to another one. I thought was a fantastic scene. Obviously, the land battles and stuff. I saw where the director had taken his inspiration from the Battle of Hoth. And he was like, as a kid, I loved that. And so we wanted to do more of that in this movie. And I feel like they accomplished that fully. But the Hammerhead scene with the ship was another moment that stood out to me. Were there any other moments in this movie that really caught your eye that you appreciated?
Fan servicey wise, the whole splicing in Gold Leader and Red Leader from Episode 4 was when they came out. That was awesome.
It shocked me. I was like, what? Wait a second. I was like, that dude looks really familiar. I was like, what is going on here? And then I realized they had spliced from another movie. That was genius.
That was awesome. And I know that you know. And then being a fan of Rebels, the fan service that they paid. I mean, just the little tidbits. I mean, I know it's not really like a scene in the movie, but just the fact that they showed the ghost. Mm-hmm. You know, they had General Syndulla over the intercom in Yavin 4. So being a fan of the cartoon show and watching it every week, and that they showed that a few times, and I caught it 4 or 5 times within the battle scene at the end there.
Nice.
I thought that was great.
You had the guys that I couldn't tell you the names, but the guy who's wanted on 5.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
They definitely played a lot of fan service, which I've heard some people complain about, that there was too much of it. Not for me. I thought, okay, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe, you know, too inside baseball for some people. But
if it's fan service, the fans are the ones who's going to catch it. So how can it be too much? Because it's not too much for me. I enjoyed every moment that they kind of threw in there. Shoot, you even saw the blue milk on the Dern at the very beginning. I was like, man, blue milk. I'm about to buy me some of that.
I thought
it must be good.
I can see with R2-D2 and see that some people didn't think they needed to be in it at all.
That was kind of forced. I guess now that you mention that, they were forgettable. I forgot about them, but that was probably the only forced thing I can think of off the top of my head right now. It was just.
But they've been in every single movie. They got to be in. I mean, hopefully they won't force them into the Han Solo one. I don't think they should even try to do that. That should be the first one if they're not in. But yeah, they've been in every single one. So and that makes sense for them to be on Yavin 4 and be there to show them.
Right. Well, Stupendous, what about you? Were there any other things that stood out? The Donnie Yen fight or anything?
Yeah, Donnie Yen, he was really cool. That whole fight scene. I can talk about a scene that I actually absolutely hated, and that's the like squid thing with like Saw Gerrera and Bodhi. Like what?
Yeah.
Like what? What?
That wasn't really needed.
The mind control. It was so quick. It was almost like they needed some kind of animal or alien or whatever to do something. They've had them in the other ones.
I get what they were trying to do is that, you know, Saw Gerrera doesn't trust anybody, and they were trying to make him as, you know, this extremist, and he doesn't trust no matter what. He's not going to trust. But they probably could have came up with a different way to handle that. But I didn't mind it that much. But I completely understand not liking that scene Totally.
Yeah, it didn't take me out of the movie, but I was just like, what is this? Well, whatever. I just accept. Look, a lot of things with Star Wars, I just accept.
Yep.
I enjoy them, so and I get in and I'll question it. I'm just like, well, okay, like whatever. If I got to deal with the squid, I'll deal with the squid. But yeah, that was it. I love the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I don't really have anything else. I guess we'll wrap this video up. Thank you, Stupendous, for coming on out. Thank you, Brent, for coming on out. I hope you guys watched. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed Rogue One as much as we did. I will probably watch it one more time. I've seen it twice. The IMAX experience of Stupendous. If you have an opportunity to watch IMAX, do it. Because I've seen it in standard and I've seen it in IMAX, and IMAX is completely different. The theater I was in, like, it blew my mind. So I may watch it one more time. But guys, that's pretty much the video for the day. In the comment section below, let us know, answer these questions, and does this Star Wars film make your top 3? What do you think about the plot hole, being filled? And then of course, is this the best scene? Like, get down there, get interactive with us. Hey, if you enjoy this channel, man, subscribe to the channel so you see more videos similar to this. We will be talking about other movies. Look, we're not strictly Star Wars. You can tell that right off the bat. We're Game of Thrones, Westworld, movies, and all that kind of stuff. And Star Wars is one of my favorite things. And so when the movies come around, then I do talk about them. I'll link Britton's channel down in the comment section below. He does movie reviews. I will link Stupendous's video, his channel down in the comment section below. If you want Star Wars, that's where to go. That motherfucker does stuff about eyes turning yellow and why the sabers are red and stuff I didn't even know existed in the movie. I don't know where you find this information from. Half the time I'm like, this fool is just making this up. He don't know. He just made it up. But you do really good videos, and I was glad to have all of you out here on the channel. Man, that's it, guys. Until next time, we're out.